I'm recording this, I'm just going to my name is Barbara DellaPiana. I work with DTA. I am an AAC technician, and I work a lot with programming devices. I'm an SLPA, not an SLP. I work under Vicky. I do a lot of structure and organization training. It may sound like I'm an SLP at times, but do not be mistaken, please, because that's not my role. So today, what I wanted to go over is structure and organization for the first 30 minutes. And when you're looking at Snap and you're looking at the screen, you'll see a sliding toolbar here. Everything to the right of this toolbar is word based. And so we have a message bar up top, and all of these in these beautiful colors are core words. And then over here we have additional words. The arrow that goes on the bottom here that swirls around, that indicates it's going to visit a page. So when you hit people and you want to talk about the man, it's going to visit. So when you see an arrow like that, you're going to see that it's going to visit a page. Same thing with actions. So if you're talking about the action word eat, it's going to go back. Okay. That's important. I want to tell people about that because they don't realize they're saying all the time, gee, I hit a button and it bounces back home. So I like to make sure people understand that it's meant to visit that page. When you see it a straight arrow, that's going to go out to a page and land there, and it's not going to bounce back. So as I mentioned, these are all core words. This is where you can build sentences. I like, you can do, I want more. And in some instances, kids will live on the core page because that's what the level they're at. But over here on the blossom color, that is the official color of Snap, the all word list, I like to tell people to think of this as a dictionary based in categories. And so a lot of these words that you see in here in these pages are going to be linked in other pages. So what we ask people here is kind of leave this intact. You can add words to it, but don't delete and remove anything off of here because then you're changing the dictionary, so to speak. And when you look at these here, you'll see like foods, they put the more frequently used words up at top now, and then they have all these links. And so they're related links. So breakfast foods, lunch and dinner, snacks, so on and so forth. Those are called related lists. And so they do a really good job at trying to categorize everything so you're not searching just constantly. The other is body and health. We recommend that people go through the body and health because there's a lot of images and words that are designed for all ages. I'm sure that you may have come across a few. What we recommend is hiding those rather than deleting it and then trying to figure out what word belonged there before. But as you know, or you may not know, it's unfortunate that a lot of adults in our young population, they have some abuse, and this is an area where you might be able to not lead them, but you might be able to get some information that you're, wondering. Maybe your body part hurts, or perhaps, they need to tell you something different. So what I tell people is go through that occasionally, pick and choose, and maybe hide some. And then there's a school button here. And in the school button, it gives you all your school places, your school words, additional school words that you might be looking for, preschool. And then it also has a variety of classes. Now you'll see none of these are linking out. These are just words, okay? And it also has a lot of your supplies that you already use in classrooms. So I like to tell people about the school button because that's an area where you guys might use it the most as a teacher. So when we go back, that all word list is, think of it as a dictionary and categories. And then we have little words. Now, again, see this arrow? It's going to be visiting out. So a little word would be without, so when you look at this, you have to really make sure, is it a word that I need to land on that page or just visit that page? And then we have description words, and you have a lot of linking out words. This personal button, this is where when I ask for classroom words or home words, whether I'm doing it for classroom or the clinic or for whatever reason. We ask for these words for very specific cause. And one of it is we want to make this device as motivating as possible for kids to want to use it. So in here, there's additional buttons we add on the bottom, which is related to school, but this here is primarily geared towards home right now. And so we put school names in here. Now, you will notice that this is my face. And the reason I did this is because the way you take a picture or the way you import a picture is pretty important. You can see this one here, it's really up close. And when I took this picture, it was very close. But the button is only so big. And so you're only going to see so much of it. This one here, I took in a portrait manner. I took the other one in a wide angle manner. And you'll see that you really can't see a whole lot. And then this one here, I took it at a distance. And this one here, again, in a portrait manner. I wanted to show this because it's to me, it's important because the kids might recognize the face, but if you really can't see the button, it's what's the purpose? So this would be your family. And then in here we have TVs and characters. So when I get something like this from a parent that says, hey, my kid loves these and they love every movie of Toy Story, I will go through and I will pull out some of the characters from these TV shows if they haven't already given it to me. And in this case, this would be considered like shows and characters. And the reason I have it all on one is because if they're watching the Toy Story, I want them to be able to talk about Woody without having to go back to another page and go find Woody. The idea of this is less navigating. So the less navigating, the more success from what I understand, because they're not searching all the time. The other one is foods. I created this to give you an idea that even though we have the all word list with foods in it and they have everything in there, they're not going to have Capri Sun. And Capri Sun is very specific to probably certain kids. And that's a motivating thing for them to have on their own page. And so we leave the favorite foods to very specific to them. And that'll change over time as their food tastes change. And then, of course, my leisure. And these are the things that mom had told me. I also put the characters in here because he might have these characters at home and want to play with them. Like if he has the Woody figurine. So I wanted to give him those in both areas. And then restaurants and stores. These were some of the restaurants and stores that mom gave us. Now, Walmart and Publix, they visit. However, I know that there's a Kroger up in that part of town where they're at. And so I added Kroger because if they're driving by and he wants to be able to say to mom, hey, Kroger's there, I want to give him that ability to do that. Same thing down here. It was basically McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, and Little Caesars they loved. But I threw in Burger King and Wendy's. And when I train the parents, I explain to them why. It's so that we're giving them vocabulary that they're seeing out in the world in order to communicate. Because you don't want, the worst thing is they're going by Burger King and they just want to say it, but they can't. And then who knows what could possibly happen after that. And so those are the main things we add in for the family. And then on the bottom, we always add in school people and we add in the school leisure. And if you have sensory things that are very specific and are not out on the all word list, what I also try to do is I try to link out a lot of these things out to the word list. So if they're searching, and which I'm going to explain that, it's going to show you all the locations. And so I want these words to be in other areas for them to have access to it. And so when I ask for word lists, which people sometimes don't understand why, I like to be able to explain why I'm doing that, because once you understand it, it tends to make a little more sense. So that is what I call the word list. Now, I would like to show you a larger grid size of a kid that can use a 7x7 location of that same page, just to give you an idea. Oops, sorry. So in this case, this kiddo has the same stuff. It's the same kiddo. But I happen to know he loves Mario Kart and Candy Crush. He plays it every single night. So instead of adding a button that is like night activities or what have you, We put them out here so it's easy access for them and it's less navigation. Now in school, if this becomes a problem, you can hide them. And I'll show you that in just a little bit. In this case, same thing. Everything is the same. The only difference is in school leisure. The teacher gave me a lot of stuff, which I was really pleased with. And what I tried to do was, rather than creating a whole bunch of different buttons for these, I put a little queue for fun stuff. So these are the fun things that they have an option to do. These are the apps that they use regularly in class. These are the shows that they might allow the child to watch during the day. And these are the main sensory items that this child loves to use. So we want to have it here. It's one button to hit and he gets to everything he wants to. The thing we added on this one is the teacher was really good about giving me some YouTube videos that they watched in class. And the idea is we want to give the student or the child the option to choose just like anybody else. So I took the liberty and I went into YouTube and I downloaded these videos, these caps. So if she says, okay, we're going to watch YouTube today and let's make a choice, everybody else might be able to make a choice, but he can't verbalize. Well, now he can. He can say exactly what he wants to watch. And I enjoy when people give me more information because then we can really make it their own. So does that make all sense? Am I good, Brooke? Okay. So now that's basically the word piece. I'm going to jump back to my 5x5 location. And this is the location that a lot of schools use just in the district for their standard iPads. And so again, this is everything from the right of this toolbar. You're talking core, all word lists, motivating personal words, little words, and descriptions. So these are all word-based, building sentences, what have you. On this left side, which I like to call the scrolling toolbar because it's the only thing that scrolls independent. If ever you are knee-deep in word lists and you can't figure out where am I and how to get home, you can always hit this home button. So let me give you an example. If I'm in personal, this home button will show up. And so you can just hit there and it's going to bring you to core. If you can't remember what that home button was, you can always hit core and it'll bring you back here as well. And so the other form of communication that Toby uses is what's called pre-stored messages, quick phrases. There's a lot of different ways to name it. And what these are pre-stored messages already built in so that you're not trying to navigate and figure out how to build a sentence like, how are you? That can take a lot of learning and it could be a struggle and cause a lot of frustration for somebody who's just trying to ask a question. So in quick fires, they've met a lot of that need. And in here is where you're going to find your yes and no. Now, these are just words, but they're not going to show up in the toolbar. So when I hit you're welcome, it's easy conversation, easy way for them to be able to say something without trying to build a sentence. In this grid size, I like it because it has its manners. Please, thank you, excuse me. But over here at the top, you'll see greetings and socials. This is where we're going to say, and I customized it for you. We're going to say hi. So those are like the three things that most kids like to say that I've worked with in the schools. And it kind of gives people an indicator. Oh, this device, they talk with it, which is kind of nice because when people see them, they don't necessarily know what they are. And then I can ask, how are you, Barbara? Barbara could ask me, how are you? And I can, Johnny or whoever can say, awesome. So there's ways to be able to communicate back and forth without having to worry about navigating and building messages. Personal needs is where you have so that's always a big one. I'm thirsty, I'm hungry. And so you'll see that these are sentences that are built, but the label is only showing one word. So the idea is to have the label give you kind of a cue, the picture telling you, okay, that must be something is hurting. And then when you click it, the child or the student can be able to tell you that. Feelings. Yeah, I love this page. And the reason why I love this so much is because when I'm in a fit, that I'm crying and I can't speak. There are times when I want to give this to my husband and just say, I'm mad or I'm scared. And it will help to identify what is going on. And so I talk a lot about, if they're having a meltdown like we all do, or they're crying, go to this page and they might be able to identify by the symbol and tell you what's going on. Doesn't always work, but it could. And then questions is basically what it is. Except, so like this drinking, instead of what do we have to drink? Instead of, I need something to drink. One is a statement, one is a question. And then my phrases. The way I explain my phrases is when I first started doing this with Vicky, I would program and I would just add words in wherever she told me, and I never really understood what I was doing. There was a young lady, and I'll never forget her. Vicky wanted me to go into this page and start adding a little unusual things like, you're red and she had explained to me. So Laura has some older siblings, and when they're watching movies or they just bicker back and forth, Laura needs to have some things to say back to her siblings because they treat her just like anybody else. So I went ahead and I put all these things in that Vicky told me to do, and I was a little uneasy about it. But then Laura showed up one day in therapy, and Vicky was like, "Oh, Laura, Barbara added these words," and I got to see it firsthand. And the expression on her face, that was my aha moment. Like, this is what I do. And so I like to tell people that if you have specific phrases that that is for that child, and it's too hard to find elsewhere, put them in this my phrases location. Because it's theirs. It's their words, their phrases, their messages. And the other thing that we tell people is that if you have ABA therapists or SLPs that always like to go and change that core page because it's just easy access, they want to put yes or no in there. We try to encourage them, let's find where the words are first, and it's right here in quick fires. And if they're still not convinced, we try to use my phrases just for them. Like, this is a page all for you. Okay, so we use it for that purpose as well. So what I've gone over is your core words are from the right of this toolbar. We have a dictionary based on categories, personal list, which is motivating words for the student, little words, descriptions. Your return arrow is it's a visiting. A regular arrow means it's going to land on that page. Quick fires is where you have some just quick pre-stored messages, greetings, personal needs, questions, feelings, things of that nature. Topics. Now, topics, when you look at this, this is a lot of stuff. They have created topics based on the research and the different things that we do all day and every day. So we always eat. We want to talk about our family. In classroom, we do calendar talk, things of that nature. So when you look at this page, the idea of this page as well is quick messages, conversation, no navigating. So calendar talk is one that I know that all the schools do. And in here, the blue buttons, the blue borders you have here, these are questions. So they have the ability to ask them questions without building sentences. And then there's an opportunity for statements, which is the orange. And so today is Friday. And so they've now was able to participate in class when everybody else, oh, what's today? He can go in or she can go in and say today is Friday. Same thing with month. What is the month? The month is March. And so you'll notice that this return arrow is, again, it's visiting. So it's not going to land on that page for you. Same thing with season. The year is 2023. I just noticed that. So unless we want them to be in 2022, we need to change that. And I'll go through and we'll edit that. That'll be in our next session. Now, inside every topic, what they do is they say, okay, if they're wanting to just talk about holidays without having to go back to the word list, find holidays, what in every topic they say, okay, so these words are based on this topic, so let's add them to topic words. And inside topic words, these are some of the words that you might be talking about in calendar talk. And then there's holidays. And then there's also date and time. So with holidays, it's going to come out here. And if Easter's coming up. So now we're going to Easter. Easter's showing up here because it's a word now. It's not a pre-stored message. It's a topic word within the topic. Okay. And if you want to talk about what comes after Easter, Mother's Day. So they have these words available. And then there's a whole lot of other words up here. They have these words available. So it's quick access and less navigation. So in essence, less frustration. The other thing that I've been wanting to really show teachers and parents more is every topic has a supports. And what these supports are, let me clear this out. In calendar, in every one of these, they have a first then. So it's first we sit in circle time. Which is kind of cool. Then we have your first, next, then, and last.
Barbara, your voice output on your device is not, we're not hearing it, so you probably are going to need to just say what it's saying to us.
Oh, really? I'm so sorry. Okay. So this first go to circle with class. And then it goes, next. Look at calendar. Then pick today. Say the day of the week. So there's supports that they have embedded in there for you that could potentially help in what you're teaching. The script it's now a script. And so you can change these, you can add to it. This is a script that they put in there to give you a little bit of an example. And so you can talk about calendar, talk a little bit more. And then there's calendar time. And again, it's pretty simple, but a lot of people are enjoying using this just because it puts it all in a little basket for them so that they're not having to figure out where all these words are. So again, when you look at a topic, blue is your questions, orange is statements, green is positive, red is negative. So it was a great day. It was a bad day. And so you'll see they have that opportunity. And then in every topic, you can add your own messages. So in calendar time, I can't come up with something off the top of my head, but if there is a message that you do every day that is not in here, you can add it in. Okay, so it's very customizable. Every single one of these has topic words and supports that go with it. So I went into eating just now. Eating is for cafeteria, or it's for home, it's for whatever. This allergic to has an opportunity for you to fill in. And Barbara is allergic to oranges. And so oranges is in there. The reason it doesn't say I am allergic to oranges is here is because you don't want to take up all the space with a label. You just want to have a short label with a longer message. And I'll explain to you how we do that in the next session. You have things like classroom. There's a lot of things in here that people are enjoying. Sensory experience. That's a big one for the sensory rooms. The safety, is it body safety? Hang on a second. I think it's self-care. So self-care is in, this is where it says, I need to use the bathroom, or where blue is a question, where is the bathroom? And so they've taken a lot of the topics and they've kind of combined some of them. So it's easier for you to see and navigate through. And so we talked about the core words, we talked about the dictionary, the motivating words, your quick fires, and then your topics. The one thing I want to talk about here is because a lot of people are like, I can't find anything. I'm looking for one specific thing. I can't find it. So if you look up here, there's a magnifying glass. This is everybody's best friend. And when you go in here, we want to look for the bathroom. And I happen to know the bathroom is in a lot of these locations. So in the beginning, I said, you're going to find a lot of words and places repeated all over this page set. And this is why, because you need to be able to say the bathroom if you're just talking about the home places. You want to be able to say bathroom if you're in the topics. There's just a lot of opportunity. And then here's the supports. So in this case, I want to go to the main list and I want to go find bathroom. So when you select it, it's going to give you a pathway. Here is your word list. It's under home. And here is bathroom. So it walks you through it. The more you do this, the more you'll remember where the words are. Okay. I know people live in here just to be able to find where words are and help the students and even help the parents be able to find where things are. And so that's the structure and organization piece of it. There's not, it's, you should really go in and play with it. You know, someone made a mention to me that I found to be interesting that, you know, a lot of times kids will be hitting buttons randomly. And another SLP categorizes it as, you know, they're babbling, you know, they're figuring out words just like a young person would, a baby would. You need to do the same thing as a teacher and a parent because the more that you know where the words live, the better off you're going to be able to assist in finding those words for somebody. One thing I want to mention, you'll notice like here is the personal. It looks just like what we looked at. Now in the word list, it's also here, personal. It's the same exact page. So what they've done is they've given you a lot of like actions as well. Same as the one in the front on the core page. They've given you a lot of places with duplication for ease to be able to find the words and less frustration. So now the second section that we want to talk about is the editing and syncing. Editing the buttons is something that we encourage people to do, but we try to encourage them to do it in the right place so that we're not changing the integrity of the program and what the research behind it has said it's meant to do. So we always ask everybody, based upon the evaluation and the grid size that the student is supposed to be on, please don't change the score because there's a reason for them needing to have only this many. If you're working on a specific word, there's other ways to do that. And that's something that we can talk about privately. But we really try to ask people to leave this the way it is. And it's also motor planning. Kids are going to remember that this is the symbol for more. And it's been here for a long time. And it has this orange background. If we change this to another symbol or another word, it's potentially messing up their ability to be successful. Personal is where we like to tell people to add stuff to. And I like to empower people to learn how to do it, which is why we're making sure we show people how to edit. And so in this case, let's go to family names. And so now that I have a participant here and we're going to consider them family, I'm going to add their name in. And so up here, you'll see there's a cog with the pencil. This is the editing button. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit this button. And you'll see that it changed the layout of it a little bit. Over here, you'll see there's a menu, and down here, there's a menu. If you take these, if you click on these two little carrots or arrows, it's going to show you what these things are, okay? If you click on this up arrow, nothing is appearing just yet. As soon as we select the button, you're going to get a menu, and you're going to get an option to do stuff. So in this case, we're going to say Miss Brooke. Okay, want to make sure I spelled it right. And I don't have a picture of Miss Brooke, so I can leave it blank and we can add a picture later. Or I can go in to symbols. If you didn't see what I did, I selected this magnifying glass. It doesn't know a symbol for Miss Brooke, so I'm just going to say teacher. And it's going to show up with some symbols for teachers. Now, depending upon what you teach or what you don't teach is what you're going to say. So we're going to say that you're an art teacher today. And so that's the art. If you want to have a symbol that goes along with the name, this is what you would do. If you really don't want to have that symbol, but you want to have a person, you can type in lady. girl, woman. There's a lot of options. And Toby has been really good about putting in a variety of symbols. Um, I don't want to make you look old, but we're going to have you have a pink shirt. And so there you go. However, if you do have a picture, again, if you went around and you took the pictures like this, you can upload them to the device, or you can use the device by going into this little camera. You can use the camera to take the picture, or you can go into the photo library and you can go in and do pictures. And so this is going to take a hot minute. And these are the pictures that I took. And so I have it in my downloads. So I'm just going to pop this picture in here. And there it is. It's not difficult to add pictures. It's how the picture looks is, and you want to make sure that it's visible. So I tell everybody go as up close as possible because the button is only so large. And so that's it, adding a button and adding a picture is not that difficult. It's just feeling confident doing that. Now, let's say that I was like, oh, I put the wrong picture for Brooke. I'm going to go back into my edit, and you're going to see this return arrow up here present. That tells me, oh, I can undo this. So I'm going to just go and undo it. And I don't like that one either. So I'm going to undo it again. And I'm going to undo it. It gives you normally 3, but it can give you up to 5 options to undo. Okay. So when you realize I did something wrong and you want to go back, just undo it. Okay. Let's say that Auntie Vicky, yeah, she's not around for a little while, and we don't want to upset Barbara by having Auntie Vicky's picture here because she's really going to want to see Auntie Vicky a lot. You can select this, and you go over here, and there is a little eye, and we're going to hide it. So now we're just not going to see Auntie Vicky for a little while. And so Auntie Vicky's gone away. Sometimes out of sight, out of mind. So if a child is, wanting to see something over and over and over, sometimes you can hide it in that manner. And I'm going to go over hiding in a second again. And so from what I talked about so far with editing a button, does that make sense? Okay. If you ever get stuck and you're not sure what all of these mean, I remind people a lot, use the arrow and look at it. The multi-select it's going to select, you can select more than one button at a time. The select all, you can select everything on the page. And so this arrow is my friend. And if you're not sure, like if you select a button and nothing comes up, always make sure you go over here and bring it up because it just might be hidden on the bottom. Okay. I do not want this button here anymore. So I'm going to trash it. Okay. Let me go back. The other thing I try to tell people is in word lists. So a hint I want to show you because I keep doing this. If you're in edit mode and you're in this page here and you just want to get back to quick fires, instead of going in and out of edit mode, you can double click real fast and it'll bring you there. That's a little tip, which is why when I'm not in edit mode, you'll see I'm bouncing around a lot because I edit a lot. So I'm always double clicking. Okay. So that's a little tip there. But let's say you're in word lists, and let's say that we're in body parts. And let's just say that, there's a few things in here that, you don't want to have. Okay, so we're just going to go in here. We're going to go back to edit. We're going to look over here, and we're going to multi-select. And we're just going to select a couple of buttons that, Barbara doesn't wear glasses, or Barbara, just a few things that you think is not appropriate for the age. And as you go through some of these, you will find that there are some that you might not think is appropriate for that student or child, or that the parents might question why those symbols are there. And you would just go over here and you would hide them. I tell people hiding is better than deleting because I can't even remember what was there before in the symbol that was used. So if you want to go back and unhide it, it's a lot easier than trying to go back and recreate it to look what it used to look like. Okay. And so now those few things are gone. And so the hiding and the showing is pretty important. Um, and I like to tell people to hide over deleting. Okay. I'm trying to think of the other areas. Oh, okay. So when we download a page set, you're going to have um, different buttons that you're going that remember they're for all age groups. So um, I know that Barbara doesn't need to have this button here. So I'm going to go back up to the edit. I'm going to then hide it and it'll be gone.
Yeah, I didn't know about hiding things, and one of my students who got his very first device got it the day before my classroom observation, and he found all those buttons in the middle of my classroom being observed, and it's just
Yeah.
a moment of panic a little bit.
Yeah. And so that's why I like to show people that. Um, I normally, when I'm customizing, I normally will hide that. And then when I go in to train or I do an online training, I'll show people that it's there because some of our kiddos are very clever and they can figure out how to get into it, whether we want them to or not. Um, so when we talked about editing, we talked about the personal page. This is a page that is designed for the person. It's designed. So one of the things that I do is that if I get word list back and I get from school and not home, and I've gotten no response at home or the child doesn't take the device home, I generally will put the school people up top and I'll show you how to do that. And again, this is nothing that you can really mess up. So let's say that Barbara really only uses this in school, but I still want her to have access to her people. If you hold down the button, you'll see it's floating around. I'm holding down the button. I just want to swap these. And the reason why is because I want them to have access to the things they're going to be using the most. And this is what I generally do if it's only used in school. I still have access to their people, but this is what they're looking at the top usually, mostly when they open the page. And there's controversy on that, and everybody does it differently. But what I've done as a rule of thumb is I usually will put, what he uses the most up at the top. And I always keep the stores and restaurants and fun stuff and shows because that's opportunity to talk to the student about things that they love. And if we don't get word list back from the school, depending upon the age group, I will generally put in a few things because you want to have something to talk to the kids about. But what I do is I take all these word lists and I put them in there. And then if you need to move things around, you can do that. If you have more stuff in here and it just doesn't look the way you want it to look, you can then you hold it down and you can drag it to another button. Okay. That I'm asked a lot about because they're trying to add stuff and they may not, have the ability to know how to do that. So let me look at my notes. Hiding and showing was really important that I wanted to make sure that I showed you. Searching, I'll go over that again because searching is really big. And we want to look at, let's say days, even though date and time is right there. It's going to show you all the different places where the word day is at. And so in this case, let's look at Christmas. I didn't know it was there. It's going to bring you to holidays. It's going to bring you to related lists. So even though it's a day we're looking for, it's in Christmas. Happy. So it took my looking for day and it used the word day is in that happy holidays. And so because I selected that one, it brought me here. And so the searching is really cool because it gives you a pathway to find the stuff that you're looking for. And so now I am knee deep. I am in related list holidays and I just want to get home and I can't remember what Barbara said. So I'm just going to hit this little home button and here I am. So beyond that, there's a lot to unpack in this and there's a lot to edit. But starting here is a good place because you get your feet wet and, editing a button, adding a picture. The closer, the better. Wide angle is the better when adding a picture. I'll talk a little bit about messages versus label. And so when we come in here to greeting, this just says my name or name is. Okay, this is Gabe. So I put Gabe in here because I figured we're tired of Barbara. So my name is Gabe. But when you look at the message says my name is Gabe. The label says name is. So what appears at the top when you're working on, so topics in pre-stored messages don't even appear here. But when you look at use device and we pull it up, I use this device to talk. So if you have something that you want to create a message for someone, it's a device icon, a device symbol, and you're not sure, some say, I use this device to communicate with. I use this device to talk. So that's the message that they're going to be speaking. The machine is going to speak out loud the device. The label is only for the button. So the label is for what we're going to see. Let's see what this is. So the reason they do this is because if they're using the same symbol for two different things that mean the same thing, but they want it to have more of a message, they'll put it here so that the person, the partner generally will know. And then we have the same thing in topics. So topics and quick fires is where you're going to find a lot of these things. So let's go to cleaning and see what's in cleaning. So it says, here, need a sponge, but they added the word I in. And so it's a complete sentence. Grab the soap. So you'll see as you're working with topics and working with quick fires, the message that you're hearing will be different than what the label is. And it's for that purpose. You don't want to clog up. You don't want to clog, so a great example, I'll show you this one. I thought this was hysterical. So this, okay, it did say Barbara DellaPiana. It took up the whole button because my name is long. So I did not want to have my whole name in there showing. So it's just my name is, and then it'll come up with the name. So that's the difference between messages and labels. Okay. Did that make sense? Okay. And other than that, I think we're good. Is there anything that you're thinking about that?
I do think, Barbara, can you take a little bit of time and just kind of go over the syncing, so everybody knows more about how we share pages between people and how we can have different
Okay.
people programming at the same time?
Yep. So syncing is where with Toby Dynavox, they're one of the few that does this where I can be customizing a page set for you or a student or a parent, and I've done all of this work and I want you to have access to that. So up here, there's a little cloud, and as long as you have a My Toby Dynavox account, if you select this cloud, because I made a few changes just now, it showed me there's an exclamation that says, hey, we have to sync. And what this sync does is it brings it up to a cloud. And so I'm going to sync. And then I would call you and say, hey, go ahead and sync so-and-so's page set. You're going to go into their page set and you're going to hit sync and you're going to see all the changes that I did. Joey Dynavox is having some issue today, so we're coming up with an error. This has been happening to me all afternoon. I'll try it again. And if that happens, just be patient and go in, because sometimes when they have a lot of users syncing at once, it'll get hung up. But the beauty to that is that I can be anywhere helping you. You could call me and, I can make a quick change and then you'll sync and you'll get that change. Does that make sense? The other thing is, if I make a change or if I create a customized page set and I share it with you, But now we want mom to be able to have it and put it on her iPad. As long as mom has a Toby Dynavox account, I can then share it with mom. Okay. The person who created the file or the page set is the one that shares it. So if you have somebody you want to share it with, you just call the owner, which or the person who has created it, which in this case would be us. Hey, can you share it with this email? And then we go ahead and do it. They sync and voila,